really bad life. But through it, I've proclaimed the majestic words of Jesus to you. You've received it. You've experienced life change. I suffer. I die. I share the gospel with you. You experience resurrection. That's the glory. Saying, as a leader, I suffer. You've benefited from that. Let's skip over to chapter 12, page 795. He makes this argument again and again and again through this book. We're just getting kind of the high points of it. So page 795, chapter 12. The first 6 verses, he starts kind of going their way. He says, you guys want me to brag and stuff. I could easily brag. I knew a guy, a friend of mine, he's talking about himself, has been to heaven, seen God. I met Jesus. I've spoken other languages. I've seen the glories of heaven. I've had all kinds of ecstatic experiences. I was the smartest guy in Bible class. I got straight A's, Pharisee above Pharisees. I knew the law perfectly. I'd memorized the whole Bible. He goes on and on and on. And he says, I'm not going to boast about that stuff. I have more than what those guys have, but I will not boast about it. In fact, in one passage he says, I count that as dung. That's how important it is to me. All those blessings, all the good things, is not as important as when I'm weak and Christ empowers me. Verse 7. And just so, here's where he's going with it, just so I don't become conceited and proud because of how awesome I am. Verse 7. Therefore, second sentence, in order to keep me from being conceited, which he could easily have been, I was given a thorn in my flesh. He said, I was given a weakness that none of you had to deal with. Probably a physical thing that just made him a little bit repulsive to everyone he met. So that when their lives changed from his preaching and his friendship, they would say, well, it wasn't because he was so awesome, that's for sure. Because look at it. So he was given this thorn in the flesh, this weakness. It says, a messenger of Satan. Yes, what he's saying here is, Satan works for God. Satan thinks he's working independently, but God's too smart for Satan. And it tormented me. Verse 8, 3 times I pleaded with the Lord. This was not just, Lord, take it away, Lord, take it away. It's like intense, agonizing prayer, like Jesus in the garden. Jesus said, take this cup from me. I don't want to die. After the 3rd time Jesus said, he says, not my will, but yours be done. Paul says, I prayed 3 times too. And after the 3rd time I said, not my will, but yours be done. Because God said to me, verse 9, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. Because I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to go, woe is me, woe begone me. No. I'm going to say, look how weak I am, how broken I am. Look at all these things that I can't do. Check out me, I can't do anything. But look what I just did. Because Christ empowered me. That's what I'm going to boast about. Verse 10. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses, in insults, hardships, persecutions, difficulties. I delight in them. I've completely changed my behavioral scripts, my behavioral patterns, my social conditioning. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Now this definition of reflecting God, this definition of a spiritual life, should come at you like completely challenging. It completely challenges our definition of spirituality. Our definition of spirituality is, I had this great prayer time. God spoke to me through His Word. It's this glorious service. Paul says, there's a place for that, but the greatest spirituality is when you're broken, you're weak, and you try something new, you try it Jesus' way, you imitate Jesus, saying, I can't do this, but here's what I'd like to do. And He empowers me to do something completely different. And through the process, everyone sees that God is real. Completely redefines the spiritual life, completely redefines glory. It's not a light, it's not success. It's a recognition of suffering, a recognition of weakness, in suffering. Jesus said the same thing, didn't he? Didn't he say, you want to follow me? Pick up your cross daily and follow me. Just suffer every day. Now, it's important to make a point at this point, which is we shouldn't go out seeking suffering. We shouldn't go and be reckless, hurt ourselves, put ourselves in situations to suffer. It's not the suffering that makes us a Christian. It's the power and weakness. And you've all got enough weakness already in order to try and get some more. Recognize the stuff you already have and allow Christ to transform you. Your greatest weakness, the point of greatest tension, is God's greatest opportunity. And notice the verbs in all of these is passive. God allows the suffering to happen so that as you put up your hands and say, I surrender, I can't do this, I know how I'm supposed to act, give me the power to act it. And Paul's point is not, okay, if you happen to be weak on Tuesday, I'd like you to let God's grace empower you. He says, whenever, all the time, you're weak, then he is strong. And that's why we delight in our weakness, because it's God's greatest opportunity to glorify his Son. So what I'd like you to do is begin daydreaming about some new behavioral scripts, some new behavioral patterns for the areas in your life where you tend to repeat the same pattern. It's an area of suffering, an area of weakness where you tend to, I'm not even going to give you a list, you can think of your own. For me, it was the parking one. Daydream about a new script, and this is actually scientifically proven. They took a bunch of people who wanted to change their behavior, and they got one group to draw cartoons of themselves acting in a new pattern, and those guys had the power to change their behavior because they daydreamed and reenacted it on a piece of paper, whereas the others in the group didn't have the same success. Now don't hear me wrong, I'm not saying go out and be good and try your best and do these psychological draw pictures. No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying daydream about something new, figure out the area in your life where you know God's put his finger on you and he said, I can't glorify myself through you because you keep doing this pattern. Admit your weakness, admit your suffering, dream about a new way of acting it out like Dog the Bounty Hunter did. He says, I pretend. He does this whole pretending thing about Jesus. But then he prays for the grace to act out what he wants to pretend. I think we need to spend some time daydreaming about how you want to behave when your kids act up, when there's conflict in a relationship, when there's tension, when the heat's burning, when you miss the ferry by like one car, when all the things, when the waitress is rude to you, when the cashier gives you the wrong change, when your car gets scratched, I don't know. When I could just like list off mine or yours, but I hope you just can think of your own, because I don't like to do that anymore. And daydream about a new way to do it. Because if you don't, you keep doing the same patterns, you don't dream of life change, and you don't call out to God for the grace to help you, you're not going to be able to imitate Jesus. You're not going to see God glorify his life through you. And you're going to miss out on doing a really good Jesus impression. So just to summarize, tough times are special times. Tough times are special times. And a new script can bring a new outcome. And we can receive grace in those tough times, and then and only then will we see God shine through us. As we imitate the cross, we can only then imitate the resurrection. So I want you to go home and daydream about new ways of living in tough situations. The whole time praying, God, I can daydream about this till the cows come home, but if you don't empower me, it's not going to happen. As I said last week, my definition of faith, and I think this plays out in the Bible, faith is you do everything in your power to change your behavior. That's 1% of the total. And then you cry out to God for the 99% to empower you to do that new change. You got to work super hard, dreaming about what the life change will be, and daydream about it. Think about it while you're late at home at night in bed. Read the Bible to find out what the new life change should be. Sometimes we don't know. Listen to whoever. And then daydream, create it, imagine it, rehearse it, and then pray, Lord, I can't do this unless you empower it. That's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to daydream, and then pray for the grace to do it.